at Andersonville National Cemetery. We're going to look at this National Park Service bulletin board, for lack of a better term. This is a photograph taken in 1864 of the burial of the prisoners of war of Andersonville here. This is a drawing of it. It's a smaller drawing, but it shows we're just digging graves, throwing in essentially naked bodies, shoulder to shoulder. This started out as a Confederate burial ground for Union federal soldiers who were POWs. There's almost 13,000 of them buried in here. This guy, Dorrance Atwater, was charged, he was a federal also, with keeping record of the prisoners buried here. And later on he came back and was able to identify them all, the list that he had made. We can see from these stones how close together they are. This became later a national cemetery where you have the more modern looking stones, which are on the other side of the cemetery, and they're still burying fresh veterans. They're still burying veterans here, and there are fresh sites throughout the cemetery. We ran across a couple that were just a month or two old. So there's still, it's like any other national cemetery in the country. You have to meet certain service criteria to be interred here. And you'll see that as we go along, that those stones are typical of the other national cemeteries in that they are spaced differently, and the stones are much more inscribed. They're better detailed. They're more dates on them and things like that, just like you'd find in any other national cemetery. But these, again, they were just a great big trench, essentially a pit, one after the other. And at one point they were burying 100 guys out here a day. 100 guys a day. That would have been a bunch of dudes digging all day long, a bunch of dudes shoveling dirt in all day long. This would have been, where we're standing now, would have been a macabre place, a place of death, a place of stench, just a place of horror. Imagine every day, day after day, bringing 100 guys out here. Even if that slowed down to 50, that's still a lot of people, a lot of bodies. They had to bury them right away. They were already skinny, they were already malnutrition, they were already on death's door to begin with. So this whole area that we're standing in right now, on both sides, as you can see from the closest of the graves of the stones, and also the stones themselves, the shapes. The stones were numbered 79, 1080, 1081, on and on and on. Up to, I would imagine, 12,900 and something, almost 13,000 people buried here from just being POWs at this camp. All right, so we're going to continue on. Okay, here's an example of classic National Cemetery markers, and these are all recent. The ones in the back are from this year and still have dirt on them and coverings on them and things like that. So it's very much a continuing burial. And as you can see behind these graves, there's plenty of room for more. And behind, in the back along the fence there's a lot of newer markers as well. Okay, we're towards the end of the cemetery, and these are older graves. These are in the 40s. The ones in the back are newer, you can tell by the stones. Then coming up right here, we're in the continuation of the Andersonville prisoner of war stones, and these are 72, 74, 72, 75. So these are higher. These are the later ones. And this is a huge plot. This goes all the way back to that fence back there. There are thousands here. And again, they are buried right on top of one another. rostrum. I don't know if up there. That's the rostrum. And this is a much newer area here, as you can see over in this section. These are a little older, and then this is a continuation of the beginning of the prisoner of war graves. And one of the most compelling stories to me, if not the most compelling story of Andersonville, is the story of the Raiders, the quote-unquote Raiders. The Raiders were essentially a prison gang. If you can picture, you know, the Aryan Brotherhood or the Black Mambas or whatever in San Quentin, you get an idea of what these guys were like. These guys were prisoners of war who took it on themselves to form a gang and prey upon their fellow prisoners. They would, you know, run rackets. They'd run gambling. They'd just beat the crap out of people and steal from them, con them, whatever they would do to better their lives within this stockade. They would do. And they just ran rampant until they finally got tired of it. The other prisoners finally got tired of it, took it to the commandant. Commandant said, okay, we're going to have an inner prison squad called the Regulators, and you're empowered to arrest these people and basically bring some law and order. So they arrested a whole bunch of them and brought 6 of them. They brought them all to trial after they arrested them, but convicted 6 of them and sentenced them to death. And this is a photograph, or a drawing, an etching of them. They're being hanged near the South Gate, which we were very close to, for their crimes. They murdered people. It wasn't just, you know, random lawlessness. They beat other prisoners to death for their money, for their goods. So these 6 dudes are buried right over here. The Raiders, the ringleaders of the Raiders, they're basically called. Because a lot of the guys got away, but because there were so many of them, I'm sure. But the guys that were identified as the chief ringleader guys, they got hanged. And for some reason, they got dumped in separate graves. Off on their own. I don't know, maybe as a warning, I don't know, maybe they were special, I don't know. That is very compelling to me, because man, in a situation like that, will invariably prey upon their fellow man, and in turn their fellow men will invariably rise up and throw off that tyranny. And that to me is the lesson of these 6 dudes laying here hanged. Andersonville National Cemetery, baby. We're out.